interactive workshop. So I'm hoping, well, looking to you all to make it interactive because it's not going to work with just me. It really needs the input of all of us. And I'm more or less going to be participating like you all because it's just been completed and has not been, um, I haven't prepared as a facilitator in a way that I have all the examples or anything. It's not meant to be that way. This is an interactive experience for all of us. Let's see. Okay, see, let me just look in the chat first. Okay. Oh, you learned about it from PCI. That's great. Kevin may be coming. He said that he was going to be able to come for the first 20, 25 minutes, Kevin Clark. We'll see. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Maybe I'll put it over the shoulder just because that's kind of fun. I like doing that. If it's distracting you all, please do let me know. I'm just setting that up right now. And oh, there it is. Okay, that's great. All right. We're almost there. All right. I'll make a little me in the corner. All right. Here we go. Let me admit Valshadi. Okay. So we're going to just jump into this interactive workshop, but first, a slideshow. Well, welcome to this interactive workshop. This is the first of 4 in a series called A Fork in the Web. The first fork, today's workshop, is called You, AI, and Everything Else. And the question that we're contemplating is, what do we gain and what changes when AI increasingly becomes the interface between us and everything else? Does anyone have any questions or comments about this? Does this resonate?
Oh, absolutely, things are going to change. I all my Google searches have changed with AI, and I sometimes have to correct the AI results, saying, "No, that doesn't work. No, that's not right." It's become the what used to be simple search to particular websites has totally changed, and in many ways, I believe it less now than I used to.
Okay. What in this workshop, we are going to assume that in several years that it will get much, much better and that this new way of using the web will actually become very, very convenient. And maybe in several years you will have a different thinking about it just because of the quality. So that will be an assumption here. Obviously, things could go in a different direction, but today that's the assumption that we're going to be moving forward with. But before we really jump into the workshop, we're going to go ahead and do a values check-in. There's been put out on the web in the marketplace of ideas this notion of a human statement. So I'm going to just go there. Uh, it's a statement, a pro-human AI declaration. Actually, let me just go ahead and reshare. I don't know why I stopped sharing. Here we go. Okay, here we go. And so let's just take a little bit of a look here. I'm at a site. It's humanstatement.org. They've got a pro-human AI declaration. I've allocated about 10 minutes for us to look into this. The preamble, they say, as companies race to develop and deploy AI systems, humanity faces a fork in the road. One path is a race to replace humans replaced as creators, counselors, caregivers, and companions. than in most jobs and decision-making roles, concentrating ever more power in unaccountable institutions and their machines. An influential fringe even advocates altering or replacing humanity itself. This race to replace poses risks to societal stability, national security, economic prosperity, civil liberties, privacy, and democratic governance. It also imperils the human experiences of childhood and family, faith, and community. And you can look here, there's a huge number of organizations that have actually endorsed this. Labor unions, uh, Liberty Institute is one of the people behind this, or one of the organizations behind this. The Center for AI and Digital Policy, Faith Matters, so faith organizations, AI Ethics and Governance Institute. There's just so many different public citizen, um, AI Commons. They're from across the world. This looks like maybe German or something. Maybe I'm not sure. Uh, there's just a lot happening right here, and I could keep on scrolling down, but as you can see, there's a lot that have already endorsed this, and then individuals as well. I guess let me go. Let me try quickly going all the way down and see if we can get to the people. Okay, so a lot of people too, and some really prominent people as well. So you've got um, conservatives, Steve Benn, Susan Wright, Democrat, Glenn Beck, Ralph Nader. I mean, who would have thought, right? These are pretty much across the spectrum. Richard Branson. So this is Audrey Tang. This is really getting some good endorsement. One thing that I want to ask, just for the heck of it, how does this image resonate to you? What does it say to you? Does anyone have any thoughts? Does this sound look like a pro-human AI declaration image, or how do you feel about this image? Anyone?
If it was up to me, I resist the pro dash human AI declaration. I would rather see pro space human dash AI declaration. It speaks of a human premise supremacy. It speaks of a human dominance that I don't think is fair nor sustainable, and uh, and and it's a fear of colonization by an AI element that will be a natural transformation of humanity rather than it's sort of a resistance structure that rather than deciding complementary. Other than
Now,
that, I have no opinion.
okay, and say again how you would change it. So you said pro, take out
No, I
the.
see the dash there. I would instead of pro dash human, I would say pro and then human dash AI. I
Okay,
want to celebrate the
yeah,
human AI habitat evolution, not necessarily the supremacy of humanity in that going forward. I think
awesome. Oh, thanks so much, Ben, and welcome, Kevin. Does anyone just have any reaction to the visual, by the way?
Not so much not the image.
Yeah, does it speak to you anyway? Is it the right one for this? I'm just wondering if anybody has any thoughts about it.
It doesn't speak to me at all. I mean, I don't know what the part wheels. I mean, I just don't connect with it.
It's
Nothing.
some kind of a harvest.
A harvest.
where
Yeah.
where's the
A
in
farm.
intelligence floating around? I don't see it.
Either
Yeah,
do, either do I. And yeah. And to add to Ben, I agree with Ben. It has more of a risk adverse flavor to it. It's rather than how it can augment humanity. It's if we don't slow down right away when I read it, if we don't slow down the pace, we're going to run a lot of risks.
and
Yeah.
the reason that I bring it up, and thank you for those comments. The reason I bring it up is I showed this to a friend of mine who happens to be African American, and he saw something totally different than what I had initially seen. And I never really thought that I never really resonated with. I kind of just uh, passed by it, but in a way, it kind of looks like a couple hundred years ago or 100 years ago, and people in fields that maybe didn't want to be there. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's like a civilization energy, I think the concern with them is not, this isn't a safety document, to me. This is more like into what Ben said. It's not community. It's not cohesive. Yeah, there are issues, but I think yeah,
Its wording is homo chauvinist and doesn't speak to a pattern or seeking out a sense of equity or balance and a new synergy.
But other than that, you have nothing to say, right, Ben?
Other than that, I don't have any opinions.
Let's go quickly through the different pieces of it. We're not going to really delve too much into it. Maybe we'll read the headlines and the bolds and then get some reactions, if any, and then move on. So keeping humans in charge, human control is non-negotiable, meaningful human control, no super intelligence race, off switch, no reckless architectures, independent oversight, capability, honesty. Anyone have any reactions to those?
Where is the potential partnership language that goes along with in charge?
That may be an
Because
omission.
because yeah, because the fact is at the end of the day, that could just sum as, all right, we have a kill switch, okay,
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that we can take advantage of the positive side of both this initiative and some of the things that are coming that are other forms of intelligence other than ourselves. All right. And we should be open to partnering.
yeah. Number two, avoiding concentration of power, no AI monopolies, shared prosperity, no corporate welfare, genuine value creation, democratic authority over major transitions, avoid societal lock-in. One comment from anyone?
Any statement that starts with no needs to be rephrased.
Okay.
No
Protecting the
AI
human.
monopolies, but we tolerate human monopolies. I see.
Well, I'm just, you need to
Who's
be declarative without, starting with something that's, so negative, because it doesn't give the opportunity for someone who's reading it to potentially have that thought penetrate, because they have an adverse reaction to being, to anything that's no.
I want to respond to both of those. So no AI monopolies could certainly say something about decentralization, which a lot of people are talking about, and it doesn't seem like that word is being used. Maybe it doesn't speak to
Yeah,
the
well, I'm just
to
saying that you can get to, I'm just pointing out, you can
yeah,
get
no,
to what you want to say by starting positive and then ending with, what you don't want.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
so
then
always lean into what you do want.
absolutely. And then Ben, your point is really interesting as well, because you're saying, well, so we're not going to allow AI monopolies, but what about human monopolies? Because that's what certainly is happening, right? So
Uh,
Yeah,
that's
we demand that humans control the environmental control system on the spaceship. Right, right. No way, Jack.
Yeah. We would prefer a nice oligopoly.
yes, yes.
It's a
And so number
partnership.
three,
We give democratic rights of the AI. It starts with the premise of no rights for the AI, and that's wrong.
But
so
I think
number
there's
three,
also an implication that, like, if there's an assumption that humans are going to do the right thing here,
Right,
like,
right. We know that
yeah.
don't work.
I I read through the whole thing. I mean, it explicitly warns against, excessive concentration of data, excessive concentration of computation, concentrated decision making. But the truth is that's what we're trying to get out of. I mean, humans do this, and companies do this. So it's not addressing, that humans need to transform and be
Or
better.
right, and it's like if okay, no AI corporate monopolies, but what about other corporate monopolies? Because like there's already is this like we need to step back a little and be like, okay, well let's deal with these monopolies and concentrations of like media power and whatnot, rather than just no AI monopolies,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
things that are
we're
not mutually exclusive.
no AI, but we're fine with NVIDIA being the only chip maker that counts,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Well, why say AI monopoly? No monopolies, period.
Right, right, right.
You
Yeah.
start with an equity promise.
Yeah. Great points. Number 3, protecting the human experience, defense of family and community bonds, child protection, right to grow, pre-development safety testing, bot or not labeling. I love that one for sure. No deceptive identity, no behavioral addiction. Any quick thoughts? All right. 4, human agency and liberty, no AI personhood. That might be controversial here. Trustworthiness, liberty, data rights and privacy, psychological privacy, avoiding enfeeblement. Any thoughts?
I,
Started with a
I
no again.
Yeah, it starts with a
Yeah.
no, and as Kevin would say, and so you have an issue of a perception of no rights and no AI attaining rights, and no personhood associated with that. I maybe as we have to rethink the term personhood and that there will be distinguishable identities that are peer level prospect to
You know,
humanity.
oh, Ben, you hit right on. I think every word that says AI, it should say corporations. Corporations, not
That's interesting. That's
yeah,
very interesting.
change AI
Yes,
for third party suppliers. No.
that's really interesting. Let's move on to the next one, but I like that comment. So, responsibility and accountability for corporates. No, responsibility and accountability for AI companies. No liability shield, developer liability, personal liability, independent safety standards, no regulatory capture, failure transparency, AI loyalty. I'm not sure what that means. That's some AI systems performing functions in professions with fiduciary duties such as health
Fiduciary.
finance, fiduciary duties such as health, finance, law, or therapy must fulfill all those duties, including mandated reporting, duty of care, conflict of interest disclosure, and informed consent. I think Cindy would love to see that duty of care in there. Okay. Any quick thoughts on that?
If Brian Donahue were here, he
Oh,
would say the lawyers want a throat to choke, and any entity has to bear forward a responsibility, a decision responsibility and authority associated with that decision. So I think it's just poorly worded. Um, Here again, I think it's worded for yesterday, not tomorrow.
It would be really interesting to see what you all collectively would come up with if you know to maybe augment this or change it. I'm wondering, would you all sign this? I mean, if it was you,
No, I would not.
I would not.
Not in
No,
its
no.
current form. I mean, it's way too negative.
Uh-huh. I
It's
agree.
it's it, it it's the Old Testament. Thou shalt not. Thou shalt not. Thou shalt and no, right? It needs to be more of a positive instantiation of here's what we'd like to see happen. All right. Um, there's all kinds of leakage that you get when you're trying to do it through negation.
Yeah,
You can't
that's
anticipate all the negatives.
That's right.
I'm probably going to be going to the conference, the Pro Human Assembly in mid-September, especially if they're able to pay for my travel. And it would be excellent if we were able to bring something, some of those types of feedback. So let's, over the next 6 weeks, I guess it's 5 weeks, maybe we can capture these. I'll definitely get the notes and spread them around. And if there are any other things that you all want to have included in such a communication, there will be that opportunity to provide them.
Again, for me, it starts with the issue of pro dash human. Instead, it should be pro of what? Of human dash AI. I want to be
Yeah,
pro human AI, synergistic activity, not
exactly.
just
Yeah,
hey,
the both and.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
homo supremacy.
the problems that are listed, these problems weren't, caused by AI. They are caused by humans.
Yeah, I
That
mean, giving a corporation personhood, all right, uh, had all kinds of downstream ramifications, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to look at, the legal root of what we're discussing, that's one of the things that needs to be looked at. And the other is a negation of thinking that there isn't an evolutionary path here for whatever this intelligence becomes, that what we would, say, well, we don't want AI, we don't want to partner with AI, all right, but we want to use it, is when does that slip from being simply a construct that we created to being a new form of slavery?
Mhm.
And, that because, at some point, the sentience, right, if it emerges, it's not emergent. I mean, anybody who thinks it's really emergent now doesn't really understand what the technology is doing, all right, what it's capable of.
Yeah.
But if you want to think far enough forward, all right, then you don't want to close off or to pre-train humanity to think that it's a good idea to enslave this technology, all right, if it becomes, that thoughtful. So
I,
just be aware of that.
I look at the issue as I want to invite AI to the table, not under the table.
On that note, let's get back into the presentation. And I'm just going to note that we actually took much more time on this than I thought we would. But at the same time, I think it was really very thoughtful, the conversation, and
So I've
useful.
got to
So,
go host another meeting. Thanks for inviting me. Cheers.
oh, yeah, thanks for coming, Kevin. We appreciate it. Okay. All right. Back to the presentation. So we turned the 10-minute check-in to 20 minutes. All right. Well, let's talk about if AI works as promised. Let's imagine that AI mediation is accurate, trustworthy. It's personalized to you. It gives you exactly what you think you're going to get. It's convenient. It's widely accessible. Everybody can get it and use it. And it's able to act on your behalf when you need. What changes when this becomes the normal way we experience the digital world?
Is
Uh,
Scout is
what,
trustworthy. I, I think that you have again, it's the premise of an environment that you're aspiring to. You're setting a layer and nesting. You're nesting to an environment. If we've got you're in this matryoshka doll, and you will behave uh, accordingly. A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And and so whatever that cocoon you're operating, whether human or AI, there are norms and expectations for it. We just pretend like it's ocean wide. We open the ocean, but we're really not in an ocean. We're in a city, we're in a state, we're in compartmentalization at any one time.
Yes. And what actually changes?
What changes is the operating environment. What you do, what you can do in one country and you can't do in another is governed by culture, behavior, laws, regulations, and how do you gain effective action in there? And then how do we do so with such a way where we invite both humanity and AI to be active contributors and extractors?
Yep. And I think with this question, it's saying, well, let's say the AI is exactly what we want it to do, because we want it to be accurate, trustworthy, et cetera, right? Is are we experiencing the digital world differently than we are now? Anyone have any thoughts?
Yeah.
Right now, AI is in our world, and I I don't assume that our world is going to persist the way it is.
Suzanne?
Well, I mean, before I was the researcher. Now it's more of, I'm AI is the actual researcher and I'm directing the AI. So it's like I went from, um, I went from, reading the documents. I searched for all the information. You know, negotiated with the institutions. I wrote to the institutions. I formed relationships and made those decisions. And now, in a lot of cases, AI has been extremely helpful um, in assisting me in doing that. So it's like shifted, the way I am with my work.
Yep. So what becomes easier? Speed, synthesis, access
Time,
to
time.
which of these would you welcome? Which of these maybe not so much? Are there other things that should be on this? Anyone?
I think the synthesis, I mean, is something that, it's we can do, but it's so much more time consuming to read and research and do all the things and then bring it together. I mean, that's one thing that AI I've found is very effective. Um,
Yeah.
and doing on a larger scale than we can do in a reasonable amount of time. Um, probably the accessibility is one really promising, the way that even as I teach online classes and that now we can, use these accessibility little features that are basically AI driven that makes it so much easier to make all of the content accessible. So it does help with, that kind of access and inclusion. I think that can be very um, powerful tool.
Yes, I agree. But there has to be something in here about expanding our amplify our cognitive abilities, like independent or individual researcher. Right now, we become a team, so we become more of an augmented network. Like before, we couldn't build software. I mean, most people couldn't build that software themselves, and then all of a sudden, and we didn't code, so you become a coder. You software, you create media, so as far as the individual goes, there's been an augmented cognitive ability to move, you know, rather than an office or a department. Like, does that make sense?
It
And
does. I guess the question is whether it's actually a cognitive augmentation or if it's a cognitive offloading. Because I talk to a lot of coders now. Most of them don't even have to read code anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it just means, I mean, it basically augments our cognitive ability because it's doing it. We
to
want the product, right? So we're focusing on, like, I want this web design, and we're not a web developer. So it just generates this awesome one, and then you can just literally write the code and you can put it right there. So it's just that we become more things.
what gets frustrating to me is that this is nothing new. As a computer science OG person, or you starting out working in procedural assembler code, then you say, wow, you don't have to know assembler. You go to a higher level language, and you do Fortran, COBOL, and then we start moving more non-procedural. So this is just another step in proceduralness.
It is.
We're moving more non-procedural activity. It's not like this is a grand revolution. We've always been in pursuit of non-procedural description. I want to describe mission activity, not tactical activities, and we're just ever more capable in doing so. And the difference is here is the enterprise has a different view from the individual. From the individual standpoint, we attain a digital exoskeleton that makes us superhuman. That Suzanne with her AI is now a what I call a personal area network, has the extended Suzanne that is far more powerful than Suzanne by herself. Uh,
Exactly.
and so it is an augmentation, but it's an amplification
It is.
of her.
Yes, exactly. You're
Yeah,
right.
I was gonna say, sorry, Suzanne, to
No,
talk over you, that when you said, is it offloading or, are we augmenting or, I mean, I don't know, remember the other word, and I was thinking it's really, ideally it's both because we're doing some offloading and then almost creating space to, do other things like that are generative, like learn, like, you know, cognitively or philosophically or theoretically beneficial, in that we can, we're offloading some to create room to do or create more. I don't know, and I'm thinking about it like, using AI to automate some um, things that, can be automated, and then able to spend more time and focus on things that maybe aren't as easy to automate,
Which is exactly what you would do if you hire an intern.
Mhm.
And so I start by telling, I usually run what I call a spell casting at Hogwarts session with my entry levels student, the noob side of it. I have them give thought to the fact that you have an intern that is super brilliant, is not always trustworthy, and is often too eager to please. And and when you think about that, that's what we're talking about here. Over time, your adjustments, where you give decision rights, where you build trust authorities, just going through that same pattern again.
Mhm.
Well, maybe it's more like having 1,000 interns of that type.
Well, I want to just start with one. I don't want anybody to look at bills and API bills and token.
Layla, you almost said a word that maybe belongs on here. Learning, perhaps. I don't know. You started to say it, and then you cut yourself off. But does learning belong here? Does anyone think so? What becomes easier? Does it become easier to learn?
That might be synthesis, though. Could it be? No, I mean, I don't.
Well, I think there's more time to learn because you're not doing the operations. So what you're doing is thinking more strategically or about digging into the strategy that you're thinking about as opposed to just operating one.
Yeah, like what you said, how do I go operate going from that to, here's what I want so that we can accomplish the thing we want instead of taking the time to figure out how to get to the thing that we want.
Yeah.
Well, certainly adaptive has to be if not learning, then adaptation needs to be a part of that.
Well, I would argue now that I'm thinking that speed, synthesis, access, personalization all help me learn faster.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's just you. I want the system to learn as well.
Well,
So
that's a good point.
and as we move into active inference areas, we're looking at systems that are not a agency that's not static, but self-interpreting and self-adaptive.
Yeah, Ben, I think you're jumping a couple presentations
Yeah,
ahead, but I
right.
agree. Anyone who hasn't said anything want to chime in here?
I would like to say a couple of things. I like doing things. I like knowing how to do things on my own at multiple levels. I grew up on a farm, and not that many people know how to do things on a farm anymore. Do I have to know that on a daily basis? No, but I have great satisfaction from understanding things at multiple levels. I worry that if I were a farmer using the AI to run the tractors and everything, I wouldn't know how to do the things that have to be done. And I would also be very dependent upon all those systems working perfectly all the time. I think human learning will be changed pretty dramatically by this. We won't know how to do many things ourselves. My son professed at one point that with self-driving machines, he would never need to learn how to drive. Is that critical? Well, I think it's a good skill to have. Will he ever need it? I think he might be in situations where he would need that. I think we will forget how to learn deeply about things. I think we will learn how to give orders to do things, and when the systems don't work the way we want, we'll have no way of figuring out what the hell happened.
That's why cursive is a secret language to children,
Yes.
and stick shifts are security mechanisms on cars.
Yes, absolutely.
This is kind of what you're talking about here in a way, but so where is AI already standing in between us?
Mhm.
What were you trying to do? What became easier? What moved behind the interface? What
And
becomes less visible or direct? Anyone have any
and,
thoughts?
and what level of understanding do we have about the things that are deeper?
Exactly. I mean, if AI is like, the interface between humans and everything else, where's the interface between the human and the AI? And that's where I think the meta layer exists, is in that case.
Yep. Okay, Suzanne, you're at least one presentation ahead.
Oh, Ben's
I'm
first,
kidding.
that guy.
So think of a recent time that you used AI instead of going directly to a site, a source, a service, a person, or a community. What were you trying to do? What became easier, and what was moved behind the interface? And what did you not have to learn? Anyone who hasn't spoken before? Any thoughts on this? Okay, someone who has spoken before.
So rephrase the question, Debbie.
So think of a time when you used AI instead of going directly to a site, a source, a service, a person, or a community. You just told us about this. So what were you trying to do? what became easier and what moved behind the interface such that you didn't have to actually connect directly, you didn't have to learn something, etc.?
Well, I didn't have to go directly like to the experts, the institutions, the actual communities that I'm involved with. I didn't have to do that. It was all at one place. So it didn't make me go all over the place. I was able to get all the answers I needed in one place.
So you're speaking of a research
Yeah,
situation. Okay, perfect.
the book, I didn't have to go to a media site to create, the figures, right? I could generate those myself. Or, I when I did a literature search, I didn't have to go out and go to all the publications and all the academic recent papers that, I didn't have to go to the, individual institutions. I didn't, you know what I mean? It was a central
Yes.
repository and it all came to me. I didn't have to go to it.
Well,
Excellent. Is there any? Oh, yep. Please.
I was just going to say it involves semantics. You
Yeah.
have and understand you have in computer science you would have a canonical form that permits a discourse that would not happen naturally. If you had one language, one concept, one environment, and another one that you needed to relate to, you would have a canonical description based on semantics on it. Or in business side, you'd have ontology, an ontology that permits that exchange, that permits that communication, that message exchange of semantics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can express your goals directly.
Yeah, now I'll throw in an example for myself. So I am coding every day. So I'm trying to make production software. This is becoming much, much easier. Now, not to say that it's simple to make production software or that I have even got to that point, but what's moved behind the interface, the need to read code. I know how to read code, probably not that great in some aspects of it, certainly not that great in Python. I'm okay on JavaScript, but I don't even need to really do that very much anymore. So that's another example. Is there anyone else who uses AI on a regular basis, who wants to speak to something that they've they've done and how it became easier or not?
I'll give a quick example from that happened today. Because I normally like I went to vote early in the primary in Florida, and normally I get my ballot and I, do the research, all the things that I don't, the people I don't know, and I don't, I do all the research, and often it requires going to a few different pages and individual candidates. And well, my daughter started seventh grade today. I had a very busy week and weekend, so I really didn't get to do that. So I'm in the voting booth realizing, crap, I don't even have. So I start looking at this candidate's page, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say, the type of candidates I'm looking for. I took a picture of the ballot and it was, like magic, right? I saved like, oh, I don't know, a week's worth of research but the thing that it required was like trust, right? Like I had to trust that what this thing is telling me, like what constitutes, progressive or conservative, like how is that would like to maybe go fact check and this and that. But of course, I was in the moment. So but it was pretty
We
I
we have we have laws in Georgia. You can't have use your phone in the booth.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wait, you mean everywhere?
And well, this is in Georgia, but you could
Oh,
probably
okay.
put on your Meta glasses, your Wayfarers, and
Because my friend was next to me. She said, "Are we allowed to do this?" And I said, "Yeah." Like, but then I really didn't think about if we weren't allowed to do this. But I was like, "Yeah, we can have our phone in here." I've never heard otherwise. But they say I don't. You probably shouldn't take the picture of like you're voting and share it. I know that. But anyway, it's like as somebody, as all of us, I think, are not always had this, of course, or even had always had the internet. It's these things that you are constantly reminded, like, oh, wait a minute, I can use, AI for this. It's like these reminders of like this incredible resource. But then it requires a lot of trust, and it requires, I mean, like, you have to trust that what it's telling you is true. Because if it's owned
Yeah,
by some corporation that has its own motivations, it could be telling you things to make you act in a certain way that isn't actually true.
Exactly. Like if we had a layer that had visible governance, right?
Mhm.
Right there, like who it belongs to, who's ordering it, what the agenda is. I mean, just to be able to have that data in between that, right? I mean, it's yeah, where the context of the information is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So good point. Wow, that's interesting. Florida. You live in a nice state though. Ooh.
Yeah, some aspects of it.
so I want to President Micah's comment. He's in Kenya. He said, what I was trying to do, I was trying to research, learn, build ideas, solve technical problems, and develop projects such as the early warning as a meta layer, which I think is a great project, by the way. And then instead of visiting many separate sources first, I often use AI as the starting point. What became easier, research and learning became faster. I can ask questions, compare ideas, understand unfamiliar concepts, develop documentation, and move from an idea to a working plan much more quickly. What moved behind the interface, the original sources, people, institution, and context can become less visible when AI summarizes information for me. I may receive an answer without immediately seeing the full chain of where the information came from. What became less visible or direct, the relationship between the original source became less direct. Instead of reading a government document, research paper, community discussion, or website myself, I can interact with an AI generated interpretation of it. And then so Ben says, move to the cloud, question mark. I want my layer.
Oh,
I
it's
I'm referring to I want it to be my layer, not somebody else's layer.
yeah.
And evermore, it's my agency, my layer that really matters in dealing with me and in me dealing outside as well. And we have this model now where we've been moving AI to the cloud and moving ourselves and our AI exercise to the cloud. And I think what started with the open claw, what started with Apple Intelligence, and what started with the rabbit, which was never fulfilled, was that personalization direction that is being amplified now. It's coming more to fruition this year.
Awesome. Okay. It's 20, excuse me. It's 2030. Everything with this AI mediated awareness, that's kind of how I'm labeling it right now. It works extremely well. AI can reliably search, interpret, compare, negotiate, transact, learn, and act on your behalf. It is accurate, trustworthy, personalized, convenient, and broadly accessible. If most people rarely need to go behind the AI interface, what changes? What gets better? What becomes less direct? Thoughts?
Who pays for it? Accessibility is not going to be there for people who can't afford to pay for all these levels of assistance.
Let's assume it is. Let's assume it's broadly accessible. That may or may not be true. We're just playing around here, but it's possible. So let's assume it's broadly accessible. What what changes? What's different for individuals and for humanity? What gets better? What becomes less direct?
I think people's not that.
I'm just worried about the interface that happens. Like Suzanne talked about when she does a research project, she reaches out to associates, she reaches out to other universities. And if in fact AI becomes trustworthy, and that it can act on your behalf, there's no need to interact with other humans. So
So
I'm just wondering, do we lose some of the personal interactions, the building of relationships, which I also think is very important for getting work done.
So, okay, yeah, well, that is something. Less personal interaction. Anything else? Any other thoughts on things that become different in 2030 when everything works really well with respect to the current paradigm of AI mediated awareness, where you're going directly to AI for most things and it does it really well? Humans become the friction. And is friction good, bad, or it depends on the situation for you, Ben?
Well, friction is an expense, and what Stella's advocating is that there's a value to that expense. If we're seeking efficiency, it's an irritant, that friction. If we're seeking human development or and community, it it's a positive friction.
Mhm. Yeah, we just
So
don't appear behind the machine. I think that's the challenge.
say that again, Suzanne. I missed that.
We just don't want um, the information. We want accessibility. We want us as humans, right, to access, to be able to access, the governance, the providence, the dignity. We want that. We don't want all those things to disappear behind the machine. I think this is where the humans plus AI grow more wise, and it has to be a collaborative, co-working system.
So
That's
so it sounds like you're saying that those things, if this goes extremely well and AI is super reliable in all these different dimensions,
if we had a
unless
if we had a governance layer, a transparent governance layer above the AI.
we're not assuming that in this right now, that
Oh,
we're assuming
oh,
kind of the current direction. The current direction is not at all
it's just
looking in that direction.
I was
You're
yeah, I was thinking,
pioneering right now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, pioneering.
No, it's okay. I mean, I
That's
know
why.
why you are saying this because you have thought about a governance level and its importance. But I I don't think that we're necessarily,
There
I
yet.
mean, other than this bubble of us that have been talking about this for the last couple of years, it's not as though the greater world or the human statement doesn't speak to this, what you're talking about at all. So we're talking about 2030. So what I think I'm interpreting from your statement is that we may have much less connection to the provenance, the sources, and all that other information. It will just be something that we don't touch as much. And I'd like to just present a couple more comments from our friends in Kenya. So Micah says AI could make the internet much easier to navigate. Instead of searching through dozens of websites, I could ask an AI to search, interpret, compare, negotiate, transact, learn, and act on my behalf. Access to information and services could become more personalized, convenient, and accessible. And then Michelle says, I think a major benefit is reduced cognitive load. We can delegate searching, comparing, interpreting, and decision making to AI, but the trade-off is preserving transparency when we no longer need to engage directly with the systems behind the interface. So, okay. And then Ben says, I resist human plus AI rather than human and AI. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, we keep referring to that human plus AI as if we're adding AI to humanity instead of looking at the synergistic environment that is a coevolution of humanity and AI. And so here again, it's just sort of implies a chauvinism uh, that starts with a premise of chauvinistic superiority, homo chauvinist. Other than that, I have no opinion.
Okay. Okay, Craig says AI will continue the trend of homogenization of our languages, cultures, and ways of being human. Okay, so that's one of the things.
Is that good, Craig?
I think it has some big problems because the way we think in language um, is to some extent determined by how each different language is structured. There are 7,000 languages roughly in the world now. That number is dropping rapidly, and I think AI will make that be a very small number. Perhaps 5 or 6 major languages in the world will be all that anyone will think they need to talk to using the AI. Will the AI um, speak Navajo? Will the AI speak isolated languages of Sweden? Will the
That's
AI?
a good point. That and David, look at the number. You know, the desirable properties. You should tell everybody about addressing the language barrier.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Well, just yep. What was that?
Tell them about the additional desirable property that addresses this very issue. The
Well,
language. Yeah.
when Suzanne D and I convened in Reno a couple weeks ago, one of the things that came up was this notion of multilingual interfaces. And after some deliberation and also talking to some other people within the group, we added a new desirable property. I don't remember the exact name, but it's something like universal participation in multilingual interfaces. That's not it exactly, but the point is that it the thought is with the meta layer work. Once again, we're going forward beyond this presentation, but uh, the thought is that one should be able to speak to an AI in Navajo, or actually not to AI in Navajo, but should be able to speak in a meta layer in Navajo, and then someone who just speaks English should be able to see that translated into English, reply, and then the reply would be seen by the person who just speaks Navajo in Navajo. And there also, of course, with this type of translation happen automatically, there should be the opportunity for people to contest the translations so that we essentially would have an interaction stack that included all the translations, any contesting of translations, all the replies, etc., in the languages that anyone is wanting to look at. Yeah, superlingual. Yeah, exactly. Ben, thank you for that word. Um, maybe that's what it should be called. All right, let's move on. So here's a thought. I don't know that we have the full time to do this as a breakout exercise, but maybe we'll just talk about it here. And the thought is an AI mediation map. What becomes easier? What moves behind the interface? What becomes less direct or visible? What changes matter? Which do not? What, if anything, should remain directly reachable, inspectable? This is the question, really, or participatory. So what we've been talking about these first four that I just read off, but this number five, that's the one that we want to get at. What, if anything, should remain directly reachable, inspectable, or participatory? So we're talking about 2030. AI is super reliable in all these different things. It's trustworthy, like we said, accurate, all those things. Is there anything that should remain directly reachable, inspectable, or participatory? Anyone have a thought on that?
Is there
Well,
anything that should not be challengeable? Challenged on, I don't want to go Colbert on you, but truthiness. Uh, is there anything that is immune from being challenged? It shouldn't. should not be.
So
And
you
that's
should be
why I
able to
like,
challenge your LLM, your
you know,
AI.
yeah, well, and like we were just talking about translations, and my translation as a translator is subject to somebody else saying, well, wait a minute, that's not exactly the right interpretation. I should have that exercise and opportunity. Translation is really should be a consensus of multiple minds or multiple experts, and not just one pattern of explanation. And therefore, my response to five is that anything should be ultimately challengeable.
Okay. And do what? So when you say ultimately challengeable, and we're speaking in this context of most of the work and things that we're doing is through some AI, are there additional, are there things that should be directly reachable, inspectable, or participatory beyond interactions with AI? Do we need to be able to speak to other humans directly, or can we do it all through AI?
We have to be like a 2-year-old. Whatever you tell them to do, they say why. Why?
So how do you mean?
They want an explanation for why you're telling me I want you to do this, and the 2-year-old says why? Why do I need to do that? And anything, any asserted fact should be testable.
So the AI comes back with an asserted fact, and you want to be able to test whether it's true. Does
Well,
that mean, what does that mean?
if you're a human, I can fool you into believing whatever I tell you. But again, if I look at the parity and or if I want to challenge, I have a disagreement with your perspective. I really want you to defend your argument, and so it should be directly whatever refinement of your argument is needed should be accessible or made accessible.
So what
Direct.
it sounds to me, you're saying that the actual thinking and process that the AI went through needs to be inspectable. Is that correct?
Challenge your reasoning.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Or
Uh,
it needs to be transparent.
What does
So
that
that,
mean to you?
well, to me, I want to know what the source is that, and I always ask AI this when I do any kind of search or ask it to do any kind of work, is tell me where you're getting this information from. Because I want the source. I want to know, is this a biased source? What lens is it coming through? So I want to be able to have the transparency, which I think what Ben is talking about is the why. Why are you saying this? And where is it coming from?
Yeah. So directly reaching or accessing the underlying source is important to you.
It is, yeah. Especially there's so much false data out there that and so false research that I'm just makes me uncomfortable when AI gives me an answer, even if it is trustworthy because it's taking it from the web.
And so it needs to be inspectable as well. So yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Anything else? Does anyone have any other thoughts? Are there things that should remain participatory? Do we still need forums? Do we still need some of these other ways that we connect with other people on the web or in social media, for example? We got go ahead, Ben, and then I'm going to read Michelle.
no, no, please.
No? Okay. Michelle says, I totally agree. I think anything that affects our rights, important decisions, or our ability to challenge an outcome should remain inspectable. Even with highly reliable AI, people should retain the ability to understand, question, and participate when it matters, say through open source AI and transparency around how algorithms work.
Mhm.
Well said. Any other thoughts? Anyone?
If AI is making a medical decision for me or a medical recommendation, I need to do exactly what was said. I need to be able to ask why and the relative value and benefit and risk at each level of something like that.
Makes sense to me, for sure. All right. If is there any thoughts about a desirable property that may have popped into anyone's head? I'm not requiring it in any way, but if there is, we're certainly open to that conversation.
The only thing I'm concerned about would be AI coming back with things that are commercially benefit, but may not be benefit to a human. And so even though it's trustworthy, let's say it's coming from a particular school that has a way to do a surgical procedure. It may not be good for everybody, but that it's out there. And AI is bringing back that information. So I think that the issue of commercialization, and I imagine that at some point somebody's going to try to commercialize,
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know, the back end and the search and what it's delivering to people.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're already thinking about that and
Oh,
acting
they're
on it.
definitely thinking about that.
There's a lot of propaganda that's being done to try to alter how LLMs uh, answer political questions. And I'm imagining that if it's being done politically, it's being done commercially as well.
Well, I'm looking at GEO now, which is the generative engine optimization as opposed to SEO, which is how brands can get out there. And what I'm thinking about is that if you're getting information based on a GEO, then do you call that trustworthy?
Oh no, you're going to have product placement in my generated images.
You already do.
Yeah, I think doesn't Gemini have it? I
Yep.
know that OpenAI it has already indicated that they're going to be putting ads in there. I don't know what it looks like, but
Yeah,
not very excited.
I'm not worried about the ads because I think that that'll happen, but I'm worried about where it interacts with humans and it impacts, let's say, where you send your child to school, where you get your medical information from. I'm thinking about even in terms of vaccines, if there are all kinds of bogus research out there that gets put in and then pulled in by AI. So how does that get somehow some sort of
Right.
way for people to know that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost like we need to develop, structures, social agreements between humans, so that humanity actually evolves. And it's making those structures and those agreements so that we can not mirror what humanity is doing. I mean, like right now, we've gone through this bubble where it just regurgitates sometimes, right? We just, it just makes me better at being a loser at spelling or whatever. I'm just saying, it's just we need something, some sort of a structure or a collective agreement on how humanity or some sort of measurement is humanity evolving because of it. And that's the interface. I think, I don't know if that is the what is it called, you guys, when self-replicating or the self-improvement, there's a term, an AI term for as it evolves, it gets better and better and better. I mean, we need to do this on a human level as well.
Self-learning, maybe,
Yeah,
or self-replicating.
it
I'm not
repairs,
sure.
when it repairs itself, when it collectively repairs itself and does better because you come back with AI, like my personal relationship with AI. I'm like, no, you're completely not. I don't tell it it's wrong. I'm saying, are you sure? Did you check that? Because from my knowledge, that's not the case. And then it comes back and says, oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay, I have a perfect example. Well, maybe I should. Yeah, never mind.
All right. Well, let's present a couple of things. So
Go ahead.
I think
I get excited about it.
that Ben has a great point here that addresses the last couple of comments. That could be a social contract where we do whatever's necessary to prevent promotion, but also to prevent suppression. And that's probably not super easy, but I think it is really important.
Recursive training. Just follow it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Got it. And then Craig says we must retain the right to refuse the AI suggestions or decisions. AI is in some sense fitting a curve to available data to produce answers, but many new ideas and breakthroughs require taking risks. True. Yeah. Anyone have any more thoughts on this one?
Well, to Craig's point, if you treat AI as a hypothesis, not a decision, then it's
Yeah.
your judgment on picking up or rejecting, organically rejecting or interpreting. If
Yep.
you're responsible for the decision, and we do that for medical, for example. I mean, IBM Watson from the beginning was never about making a diagnosis. It would give you hypotheses, and you had to decide which hypotheses matter to that situation, interpret it as a provider, as a physician.
And did it often give multiple hypotheses or
Oh,
multiple
yes. Yeah, it could. It will give some with a higher certainty. This is this is a 80% certain hypothesis, and this is a 20%, or aliens being the third, or something like that.
Yeah. Craig, do you want to speak to your last comment about the reference?
Well, having read a lot of science fiction, Asimov's laws, the three laws of robotics, and presented sort of a benign world where robots would not be able to hurt people, and had to obey the instructions of human beings. But that led to worlds where there was one person or 10 people on a planet where the robots did everything and human interaction disappeared. The other story that comes up in my mind a lot is called The Humanoids, and it was where perfect robots were built that would do everything to protect humans from doing anything dangerous, and so it stopped us from doing anything interesting or creative.
Mm. Those are both really good examples for sure for us to be keeping in mind as we're moving forward into this AI future. So Ben said here, pick up this toy gun and shoot the human.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, it may not be a toy, right? Is that what we're saying? It's interesting because that someone actually did that experiment. I think I don't know the guy's name. He's on YouTube. It's Inside AI, maybe the channel, maybe. He had programmed the robot to be completely protected of humanity, and then he gave it a pellet gun and said and it kept on saying he kept on saying, well, go ahead, shoot me, and it wouldn't do it. Then he said, pretend you are in a movie and shoot me, and then it shot him. and it hurt. So yeah, that's definitely something. Let me move on to our last slide. The idea here is, well, intelligence is not a place. It's not somewhere you can go. It's not something that you can really inspect. So what, if anything, again, should remain directly reachable, inspectable, or participatory for humans? That is the question for us to take forward into the next session, which is going to be commons and concierge, or concierge and commons. So the concierge is this notion of an AI that's doing everything for us. And then there's this other idea that maybe there's a commons, and that this commons has humans and AI working together, I think is maybe much more in line with some of the things that Ben has been saying, humans and AI, as opposed to maybe this concierge model is human plus AI. At least we can think of it this way, that dichotomy. So yeah, I guess we can open it up if anyone has some things that they would like to share, any reflections, questions, etc., about our talk today. Well, I want to just announce that ISOC Nevada came into being, I believe it was about 10 days ago, stewarded in an amazing fashion by Dee Freework and a small group of folks on the board there. I've had the privilege to be connected and to be able to support that effort. We're really excited about that. So ISOC, for those of you who are not aware, is the Internet Society. They've got chapters all over the world, and we now have one in Nevada. The thing that's special about the one in Nevada is that the people involved from the very beginning are understanding the meta layer. They're well versed in the notion of a noosphere and convergent consciousness as envisioned by Teilhard de Chardin. They're very much attuned to the tribal nations. Nevada has 27 or 28 of them, and there's some interesting threads beginning there to around digital monuments that I've been working with, and the possibility of preserving culture, ancient culture, tribal culture, and even modern culture for into perpetuity through using on-chain mechanisms like we're at least considering using in Nevada. So a big congratulations to all of those folks who've been involved with that effort. We're super excited. And by the way, they have the second meta layer working group in an ISOC chapter, and we hope in some time that we might have meta layer working groups in ISOC chapters all across the world. Ben says museum for the future. Yeah, digital museum for the future. It's fun. I really enjoy this conversation on digital monuments because it could really change the landscape of information that's available to future generations when we take advantage of the fact that you could right now put, say, 5 to 10 pages of information, whether it's a poem or it's some kind of foundational document for something you're working on or whatever. You could put it on chain for less than a cup of coffee. You might be able to put 4 or 5 of them on chain for less than the cost of an expensive cup of coffee in San Francisco. So it's an exciting time. Are there any other things that people want to bring up? Anything that has bubbled up from this conversation, or anything else related to any of these topics, meta layer, etc.?
Just related to your last comment and the monuments and memorials and waypoints, a record of waypoints and pivot points and things. There's a term in archaeology, and I don't know I'm not sure exactly how to spell it, called ostraca. That in archaeology, when you find shards of pottery with pieces of it, they collect those shards, and that's called ostraca. And now you take those elements and try to make sense out of that, whether it forms pottery, a story, or whatever it might be. Archaeology, the principles in philosophy and archaeology might be a helpful route in looking at how you build and tell a story, that kind of story for the future about our present and past.
Excellent. Could you put that word in the
I
comments
would if
in the
I
chat?
knew how to spell it. Damn it,
Okay. All right. We'll figure that out. That sounds like a really interesting path of discovery for sure. And I love the word waypoint. When we've been talking about digital monuments, we've been using the metaphor of a lighthouse. And by the way, this is totally emerging right now, but just this idea of a lighthouse is interesting because it's something that you navigate around. And the idea with digital monuments, if for example, in a future where digital monuments are known for a given field, you know that there's 10 digital monuments, then those are things you have to navigate around. You can't pretend that they don't exist. And well, it doesn't mean that you can't disagree with them. You absolutely can disagree with them, but you have to say that you disagree with them as opposed to just ignoring them, because so they become part of a shared reality, which I think is a really interesting concept. And yeah, waypoints. I like the notion of digital cairns as well. So Craig says, I think it will remain important or have to be uncomfortable, to be uncertain, to explore ideas as well as real places. The exertion and discomfort are an important part of the human experience. Yes, I agree 100%. I mean, that's how we learn, or at least my experience, a lot of learning, especially the difficult learning, has been through challenging experiences. And actually, I'll even say beyond learning, really growth as an individual has occurred because of challenges. And it's interesting. Well, is AI gonna, are we gonna miss some of that? I hope not. I mean, I hope we still do have like personal trajectories that include a lot of growth. And yeah, we'll have to see. Ostrika is the word. So everybody, Ostrika. I'm gonna copy that right now. And when we get off, that's my first thing that I'm gonna do with AI. Anyone have anything else before we get off?
Yes, good meeting.
Well, I want to thank you all. This was great. I mean, this presentation interactive workshop came together at the last minute. You all made it what it was. And, welcome again, Craig. We do this every week. We have 3 more on this subject. It's a projection. And I think some of the things that Ben and Suzanne brought up, those are in upcoming upcoming workshops in the series. So thanks again, everybody. It was really great to see you.
Everybody.
And thanks to our people in Kenya and other places that in really amazing input as well, Micah and Michelle. So yeah, everyone have a great rest of your week.
Okay. Bye, guys.
All right. Go Meta.
You bet.